All right, this is part 2 of our How to Buy a Horse from a Horse Trader series. I know it's been quite a while since we put the first video out. We did a video on PPEs in there somewhere, and then there's some videos about kind of like what to expect in different price ranges that we've done. But we're getting back to this. We want to talk about the questions. We basically want to go over the questions that you need to ask when you're buying a horse. Specifically, if you're buying the horse sight unseen and you're gonna have the horse shipped to you, you're not gonna be there. There's seems to be a lot more of that going on these days than there ever used to be. People are buying them through online auctions. They're buying them, just off the internet and having them shipped. And we just kind of we've compiled a list of the questions that you need to ask to make sure that you get the information that you need to make an informed decision on the horse that you're actually wanting, so that you can have a good buying experience.
And that there's no surprises when you get the horse.
Yes, exactly. Which
Go over there, play with
all
the
of
kitty.
that is that people are going to be honest in the way that they answer the questions, because that's going to make a big difference. Is make sure you're buying from a reputable person who's honest and has a reputation, because that's going to make a big difference in how they answer the question.
Yes, and so I'm going to act like the buyer. Actually, let's do this a little differently. I'm going to act like the buyer, and I'm going to ask you the questions, okay?
You should be on this side of the camera.
Well, no. Okay, so first question that we think is important that you should ask, so I'm going to act like the buyer, is can I get a PPE done on this horse?
My answer is always going to be yes. If you go back to our PPE video, we kind of went over like what's in a PPE. We kind of talked in that video also about like at what point we kind of feel like it's worth spending the money to get a PPE. A good vet who's going to do a good job, your PPE is going to start somewhere around $450, and it's going to go up to, you can spend a lot of money getting x-rays and doing all that kind of stuff.
So what you're saying is a basic PPE is without x-rays is going to cost me somewhere around $400.
Probably $400 to $500 just to get started, depending on your vet. So, if you're buying a $3,500 horse, do you want to put another $500 in, or are you just gonna? Personally, I wouldn't. What's the point? But I guess that depends on how much experience you have as a buyer and
Right. So this is my first horse.
That's a judgment call on your end. If you're buying a horse that's over $7,500, then you should probably get a PPE.
Has this horse had anything done to him, like vaccines or dentals or?
That's all questions about the horse's care. You definitely want to know what's been done. Is he up to date on getting his feet done, his dentals, all of that routine maintenance that a horse needs to have done on a regular basis. If that stuff's been neglected, then they probably have neglected other things with the horse as well. Personally, we don't vaccinate our horses, our personal horses or otherwise. There's risks involved with some of the vaccines. Obviously, they do help against certain things. There's some vaccines that I would be more apt to give in some of our show horses as we haul them around. We might consider giving them to. It's come to a point now where like the strangles vaccine, most vets recommend against it, and most of them will pull a titers test before they even give it, especially in an older horse, because there can be huge side effects. There's muscle wasting disease that can come out of it, and I forget the actual technical name for it, but essentially the body will eat its own muscles from.
And some horses are genetically prone to get that with the strangles vaccine.
Yes.
And then some horses will then full-blown get bastard strangles.
Yep.
From the vaccine.
I've always been a proponent ever since I was very young and started in the horse business. And I kind of got it from my dad, my grandpa, my uncles, that those horses are way better off to get it when they're young, expose them, let them get the strangles, and rarely do you have to worry about it after that. The titers will stick with them for a long time. And it's way less, it's kind of like chicken pox in humans where, it's not anywhere near the same disease, but the idea behind it is that colt will handle, just like a kid gets chicken pox, and it's way less, it's way easier for them to get over. It's not a big deal. But as an older horse, they get it, and then they can have a lot more complications from it. That's why I've always been a proponent of letting horses get strangles when they're colts, run through them, get done, build an immunity. Some of the other vaccines, West Nile, there's no way to defend against that except through the vaccine because that's carried by mosquitoes. And some of the others are carried by flies.
But if it's in the dead of winter, I mean, I
You're
guess
not-
if you're already just going to get the vaccines you want, get them. But I mean, you might as well get them right before peak season.
If you're buying a horse right now, it's January, what is it, 5th or 6th or something. We're in the middle of a freaking blizzard here. You don't have to worry about West Nile and sleeping sickness and those things. Like, get it vaccinated in the spring.
Let's go to the second question. All right, question number 2 I have is, do you have any videos of the horse? Do you have any of them saddling, walk, trot, lope, mounting, pictures of its legs, you picking up its feet, stuff like that?
Yeah, always make sure you get a video of the horse being saddled, loaded and unloaded on the trailer. Getting on the horse, the person mounting him, putting the bridle on, taking the bridle off. You could go as far as catching the horse in the stall or in the pasture. I think it's a big deal to make sure, especially if you're buying a horse sight unseen, right? Ask for a picture of the close up of their legs, hocks, knees, ankles, fetlocks, all those types of things.
Standing in a squared.
Yes, standing square, kind of like this horse is. If you can see her there, she's pretty squared up. Her fronts are a little off, but like you can see where she is.
Ask for front and side
Yeah,
views.
you want front and side views, and even back views. You're looking for scars, lumps, bumps. Do they stand square? Their feet even? Those types of things.
And scars don't always mean that they're lame or there's a problem.
No, not at all. A lot
Just
of
needs to be
horses-
disclosed.
Absolutely. And if there's scars, ask for close-ups of them. Depending on where it is, that scar could be absolutely nothing. There's so many.
Especially a lot of using horses.
A lot of using horses are going to have scars right down here on the backs of their legs from two things. We ride them in rough country and they get scars from rocks and wire because there's all kinds of wire all over the country. And you're out catching cows and it's easy to get into wire. And two, a lot of them horses, as hard as we try to not get them in wrecks, they'll get in wrecks and they'll get rope burns and that'll leave a scar. It doesn't mean that the horse is sore. 9 times out of 10, there's absolutely no problems. It's hair and flesh or hide, and it doesn't even get into anything. But it does leave a scar, and expect that on a true ranch horse.
All right, question number 3. How long have you owned this horse trader?
So this question actually drives me nuts. I hate when people ask this question because
I think it's a good question.
it's so, I don't know what the right word is for it, but when we have a horse and we have a horse that comes into our barn, the amount of time that we spend with that horse, even if that horse is here, say 2 weeks or a month, right? The amount of time we spend with that horse on a daily basis is on average way above what most people will spend with their horse in 2 to 6 to 8 to 10 months to a year. Like when we're out here working with this horse every day, and we might even, so if we ride that horse, for an hour that day, but we're around that horse all day because he's in the barn or he's in the pasture, he's around, and we're watching what that horse does. And we're talking 10 to 12 hours of time watching this horse, being around this horse on a daily basis. We get to learn real fast, and our experience plays into that too. Like knowing horses and watching their behaviors and understanding how that horse is thinking because of how he reacts and operates. We can make, is that a bird?
Yes.
We can make a very
cat.
educated assumption
Hold
of
on.
that horse and tell you with confidence how that horse is going to act in a situation, how he's going to ride and all those things. Because if you think about it, being around that horse for 10 to 12 hours a day over 30 days is a lot more time than the average person spends with their horse in an entire year of actually doing more than just throwing hay and looking at it.
Right, and in those,
So-
we try to have every horse a minimum of 30 days to make this short and sweet. And in those 30 days, we usually ride that horse, if not daily, every other day while they're here.
And the horse is at least caught, handled, tied up, this or that.
Yes, and we also make sure that in those 30 days that we have them, we get done everything that whatever past owner has had them for 15 years hasn't done. So we do the dentals, we get them, the majority of all of our horses come with pre-sale exams by the vet, so they're looked over by the vet. Caleb works on their feet, because that's a big thing that is neglected on a lot of horses. So dentals, feet, pre-sale exams.
Well, and if we tell you that we did something on that horse, we did it. We didn't, it wasn't because somebody told us that they did it. We went and did it on him. So if we said that the horse is roped and doctored out in the pasture, we went and roped and doctored on him. If
We only
But
tell you
there's a
our
I will put this
experience.
caveat on there, is there
Actually,
are
there-
a few exceptions to that, is if it's a horse that we very much know,
That we've gotten from a client, because we have lots of clients between the two of us.
but we've also been around that horse for quite a bit of time before we got the horse in our possession or here at the barn.
Mm-hmm.
So there,
We do a lot of consignments for our own clients
Yep.
that me or Caleb have personally worked on or been around for a very long time
so
prior
in
to
those
getting
cases
it.
sometimes, but we'll tell you that, hey, we didn't do this, but this person did. So the amount of time isn't as important to me as what you did in that amount of time.
Yes. And how many rides have you put on this horse?
And if you go to somebody else, if you're buying off of a person that has a horse, just a horse, they don't do it, like we do this for our living, and it's our business. And you go buy a horse off of an inexperienced person, and they've had the horse for 6 years, but their experience level is low, you know, take that into consideration. 30 days at a professional's, you know, under professional care and training is a lot different than the same person doing it wrong for 6 years.
Right. All right, so my next question is, have you been, since you've owned her, have you been the only one that's rode her, or have other different levels of riders rode her?
This question is extremely important, I believe, because the first step to this question is you have to be very honest with yourself and what level of rider you are, so that when you receive the answer about the horse, if you're honest with yourself, then you can make a better decision about whether the horse is going to fit you or not. Because if you are a beginner and you're overconfident and believe that you're actually intermediate, and it's an intermediate horse, you're probably not going to get along. And if you're consider yourself an intermediate rider, but you're not, you're an advanced rider, the horse is going to be too little horse for you. So be very honest and be very realistic about what your own abilities are, and then ask that question, because I think it's very important. If the horse gets along with multiple people, the odds of you getting along with it are a lot better. So like here at our place, if I'm the only one that rides the horse, then I can tell you what I know. But if, you know, Bailey rides it, Crystal rides it, the other kids ride it, whatever, then, you know, we've got the range of riders, you know, from advanced to very beginner riders here. And if everybody's rode the horse and got along, then most anybody's going to get along with that horse. Whereas if only me or Crystal's rode it, then it changed. But the way me and Crystal each ride is a little bit different. So I can get along with things that she doesn't, and vice versa. And so I think that's an important question to ask, because if only one person's getting along with the horse, your odds of getting along with it go way down.
If you don't know what you're doing.
Regardless, but even an experienced rider, and the horse only gets along with, say, one person.
Right. Well,
Your
let's just say
odds
not even
are-
just like getting along, right? But there are times that I don't have time to ride, or Bailey does not have time to ride, so you have been the primary rider. That doesn't mean that horse can't or doesn't get along with other people.
No, that's not.
It's
Like,
kind
that's not what I meant at all.
Yeah.
Like, but the more people that have rode, the better you're going to get along with.
The better,
Or
yes.
the better your odds of getting along with it are, and the more varieties of experience levels that have rode it, the better your odds of getting along.
Right. And for the most part, Every horse that, we're gonna put that in the video.
It was a carrot.
It was a carrot. Anyways, the horse is pawing, so training horse. For the most part, I do try to ride everything that Caleb rides to see how that horse reacts to a different seat. I am by no means a horse trainer. I'm going to just be your advanced trail rider, I would say. So there have been times Caleb has jumped straight off a horse and I've gotten on and the horse has been night and day. I've worked through it, obviously. And, let the horse know that, like, listen, I'm also in control over here and we've been fine. But horses do ride differently for each person.
And keep that in mind when you get the horse home. That horse, until the two of you figure each other out, and the horse figures out what you're actually asking of it, the two of you got to mesh and figure each other out in order for you to get along.
Each rider rides differently.
And each trainer trains a little bit different. Now, most trainers will train with this set of cues, but the way that our feel that we put on that horse is all going to be a little bit different.
And Caleb will get them broke, and I try to be the old lady, the drunk old lady on the horse's back when I ride it. Doing all the arm flailing and
I'm going to have to make a snowball.
Drinking and all the things. So our daughter, she just jumps on the horse, and if it can't just ride and her look at her phone the whole time, she's not interested, but that's going to be the majority of your teenagers.
Right.
So.
And Eli's 6, and he'll jump on and he'll whip and spur. And
Right. And on that note, can I throw my kid on her?
huh?
That's the next question.
That's the next question.
That's the number one question we always get.
Look, our kids, even our beginners, are 6 and 8-year-olds.
They have no fear.
That actually one of our 16-year-olds is probably the most timid. But
Yeah, actually, our 16-year-old is a beginner, very timid beginner.
Yep. And when he gets along with one, anybody can get along with him. Now, Riley, she's 8, and she's more timid than Eli, who's 6. But that's something that I think is the difference between a boy and a girl a little bit, and that isn't always the case. A lot of times girls want a lot more than boys. But Riley is a little bit more timid when she gets on him. And Eli, he don't care.
So can I put my kid on this horse?
I mean, we put our kids on it, but you have to make that decision on your own. It's your child.
We don't know your child.
Exactly. And even though our kids are quote unquote beginners and this and that, they're out here and they're around a horse almost daily. They ride a lot, and they have professional help to teach them how to do it.
Mm-hmm. And when they start screaming and crying, we basically tell them to zip their mouths
Right.
and work through it.
Yep.
We do not baby them. So definitely different. We don't know your child. That's why we're never going to recommend it. And if you do see us recommend a kid's horse or a family horse, that's because our whole family has rode this horse.
Yep. Yep. But also our kids ride more than a lot of kids.
Yes. Okay, so my 5th question is, have you hauled this horse anywhere to ride it?
This is a very important question as well. People who, from a performance horse aspect, this is going to be something that's much more, I guess, for trail riders too, because the more seasoned that horse is, it's very talked about in the barrel and rope horse world. Is the horse seasoned? And that just basically means when you take a horse to a new place, you get a new horse. When they're young, they haven't been hauled, they've been rode out here at our place for, say it's one of our colts, and we've only rode them out here in the arena for the last year, 2 years, whatever, and we've never hauled that horse anywhere. Everything, when he goes to a new place, everything is new, and he's going to react differently because he's completely out of his normal. Now, if that horse is hauled on a regular basis, they get very settled into like, oh, just another day, we're going to a different place. And the more places that horse has been hauled to, and the more situations that horse has been put in, the more reliable, really, I have no better word for it than how reliable that horse is going to be when you take him to places. because he's already been there, he's already seen it, and we already know how he's going to react when he gets in those situations.
We try to.
Yeah, and with our program, like, we haul them as much as we can. We haul them to different places to go trail ride. We go camp on them. We haul them to shows. We haul them to different arenas to ride in.
To the
Indoors,
stockyards.
outdoors. We go to the stockyards, go day work. You know, a day work, and they might be on and off that trailer 3 or 4 times and go to 6 different pastures. You know, like, you're constantly moving, you're loading and go, and you're seeing all kinds of new stuff, the commotion.
And we have a local
That's
arena
why-
here too that we try to haul to, just different experience.
Yep. And this isn't just about buying one from us, buying one from whoever, anybody that you can buy from. If that horse has been at the same place for 10 years and never left the farm, and you take him to your place, he's gonna have a long adjustment period moving in. But if that horse has been hauled, camped on, gone here, gone there, been all over the world, you can take him to your place on the first day, start riding.
Right.
When colts come to us for training, we give them 1 to 3 days to settle in, depending on the colt. Before we even, like, we'll get them out of the stall, we'll brush them, do some basic, just try to get them comfortable here. But actual doing work with them is, we get a lot more out of them if we let them settle in. But once that horse is, we saw Duck in one of the other videos, that horse has been around enough. We've hauled him a few places. That horse stays the same when we go to a new place. He doesn't care. He's like, oh, just another day.
Right.
We got on the trailer, we went here, we got off, we went to work, whatever.
Versus someone who's owned this horse for 10 years and
And
they've only
never
rode in the backyard.
Yes.
Or in their woods or
So-
down their road.
And when you get them to your place, everything is new. Every tree that blows looks different than the tree that they had at the other house.
That doesn't mean those people misrepresented that horse at all. Horses, again, like we posted that meme the other day, horses are not machines.
They're very much animals.
They're animals. So they take adjustment periods, they take to getting used to knowing you, they take time to settle in and feel safe and secure, because remember, they are fight or fight animals, so they are always looking for a leader.
And when you are working with them, riding them, handling them, you have to make sure that you are that leader for them, because the horse is looking for a leader. Otherwise, they'll be the leader.
And it's gonna
and
go
they're
backwards.
Probably gonna check out. So you have to be the leader and give that horse that confidence. They have to feed off of your confidence. Now, some horses will be much better about that than others. A low confidence horse, you have to be more confident with, to make sure that they stay confident and they stay with you through situations.
And that's a good question to ask yourself. If you're not a confident in life, right? Not even just with horses. If you're not a confident, assertive person in life, finding a young green horse should not be anywhere on your list of ideas.
No, that's very much a spot place for a seasoned horse with a lot of confidence in themselves.
Yes, a very much seasoned horse. So
One of you's got to be confident.
yes, one of you has to be confident. All right, so my next question kind of plays off the other question that we just had, but does this horse ride off alone? Have you rode in groups? Is it barn or buddy sour that you've noticed?
So this question,
That pony's got some digestive issues.
okay, so horses are herd animals, and it's not uncommon for a horse to get buddied up to another horse. Also, horses are smart enough and they learn very, very quickly where they get to rest and where they have to go to work. And so they'll get barn sour and or buddy sour when we let them get buddy or barn sour. And that completely falls back onto you. Now, I'm not saying go buy a horse that's already that way, because then you're gonna have to fix it. But any horse you
Sorry, my
buy,
daddy was calling.
when you get him home, it is your responsibility to make sure that horse doesn't become buddy or barn sour. I've also noticed that if you buy 2 horses at one time, you put them in a new situation, new environment, them 2 horses will buddy up with each other very, very quickly. Whereas less likely if you have one that's been there for a while and then you introduce 1 new horse. But 2 new horses together will buddy up very well, because they're both scared and they're both looking for the other one to lean on a little bit. But it still comes back to ask the question and find out. But then once you get the horse home, like some horses will have a tendency to be more that way than others. but then it becomes your responsibility to make sure that they don't become that way, or to keep them from getting that way once you get them home, because it is their natural response. And like we talked about a minute ago with the confidence thing, that comes back down to you. And are they going to be looking to you for leadership, or are they going back to the herd dynamic and another horse to be in the leader situation?
Correct. So, those are questions though to ask, and if so,
Well, 'cause nobody wants. Sorry, I interrupted.
okay.
Nobody wants a horse that's going to run back to the barn. There's not a horse in this world that doesn't go at a quicker walk back to the barn. I don't care.
Yeah,
There
some
a few
even are
exceptions.
broke or
Some that are
broke.
just so I don't care how broke they are, they'll walk faster to the barn.
That's what I'm saying. Some of our brokest horses that we've owned for
The ones that don't do that are so lazy that they just do not care about life in general,
which that might be horses. That might be the horse you need.
and that's okay. But any horse that has any motivation, any gumption at all, they're gonna walk faster back to the barn. They know that when they get back there, they get unsaddled, all this and that. And we can do a video on how to keep your horse from getting barn sour, or how to cure a barn sour horse or a buddy sour horse.
I think we need to make a video on that. All right, let me figure out my next question. My next question is, what vices does this horse have?
That's a very, very important question to ask. Most horses are going to have some sort of vice, whether it's, crib, weave, whatever.
I mean, that's a big vice. More simpler vices would be hard to catch.
Are they dominant in the pasture? Those types of things. Are they food aggressive? This, that, whatever.
Do they paw when standing tied?
Some horses, we've had a couple. Well, we've had one, and we know the horse's mother, and the mother was that way, and she's 12 or 13 now, and in a hand, like owned by a very competent trainer, and she cannot get the horse to quit pawing. We had her son, and her daughter both. The daughter didn't paw. The son, we hollered him. We did all kinds of things, and that horse would paw. We couldn't get him to quit. That is just the way he was. The only time he didn't do it is if he was extremely wore out, tired from a long day at work. But even then,
But
he would
expect
still
some
sometimes
sort
paw.
of vices. And then there are some horses that do come with none,
And I mean,
or some that are very
Generally-
minimal.
yeah, some of them are pretty minimal. Some of them will, like this horse that's over here playing with the Jolly Ball right now. He's a colt. He's very playful.
He actually has a very weird vice where he sucks his tongue after he drinks water, or if he gets bored. He's very weird. He sucks it like a pacifier, or like he doesn't have a thumb to suck,
And he's so messy.
and he's very messy in a stall. But he's never been stalled till he came here to get started a week ago.
Yep.
So,
Thank God for that ball.
yep. So he plays with that. He's the one that was pawing a second ago. He's just bored standing there.
He's still learning how to get tied. He's in his first week of training. Simple things like that. Some things that some vices are just personality traits. The tongue sucking on that horse. We've had horses that, sometimes you'll have a horse that they'll stand tight all day, but when you go saddle them, you untie them because they're going to tense up, and, you just got to cinch them up slowly. There's all kinds of vices out there.
It's just whatever you can handle.
Yep, and some things, if you ask about a vice and they tell you, you have to decide if you can handle that vice or not. Some horses, I know some horses that have won lots and lots and lots of money in the show pen, and they got to put them in a set of stocks to haul them down the road. They kick in the trailer, and it just is what it is. But those horses win a lot and make a lot of money on stud fees, and they deal with it.
Right. Or like this mare. This show mare.
She's hateful,
She is hateful as hell.
but she's hateful on a cow too.
But she's hateful on a cow. She's very unpersonable. She hates people. But she is very much of ride me. Don't touch me. Don't play with me. I don't like people. But she enjoys her job. So that would be her vice, which is probably why she'll never leave. Okay, let me find my next question. All right, so the next question I think is probably one of the most, if not the first question, actually, you probably should ask. It probably should be the first
Probably
question.
should be the very first question,
Yeah, so
because it'll save you from asking all the other questions.
it will. So the next question would be, So I am looking for a horse that I can go trail ride on the weekends, maybe put in a couple play days, maybe have my kids kind of hop on it and ride it around the farm. I need something that is gentle on the ground, that is probably more whoa than go, but still get up and go if I ask. Sane, and I'm okay with a little bit of maintenance. Do you think this horse would fit for me? So that would have been my question as the buyer, but the question in general is, you need to let the seller know.
Make a list of what exactly you want within a set of parameters, right? So if you're looking for a trail horse, like you have to make your list of the things that you want to do with the horse. Now, if you want a horse that's going to be if you want to go show a horse, right? And you're going to run barrels and you want to go show a cow horse, you're probably
going to need two different horses.
Can one horse do both? Yes. Is he going to do either one of them extremely well? Probably not. Or he's going to do one really well and the other one poorly. So, be realistic about that.
But the point is the question,
is
is
this horse going to fit what I'm looking for? You're probably not going to want a barrel horse that's a 1D barrel horse to go trail ride. One, he's probably going to be in a different price range than what you're looking for. Also, don't buy a horse just because of his color. Make sure he fits what you want. The next thing is
Gander, get back.
When you ask somebody, is the horse gentle? I've discovered that there is a big difference between somebody who works on a ranch in Montana or the Dakotas and they ride Hancock horses all day, every day, and they work for a living, and their definition of gentle is not as gentle as somebody who lives in Florida and wants to go show 4-H on the weekends.
Right,
or
which
whatever.
goes back to the same question. Can I
have to be
put my
realistic.
kid on it? We would put our kids on it.
But take into consideration, what does that person do for a living? And they might not be misrepresenting the horse, but their standard of what's gentle is very different based on
So just
the
be
horses that
more,
they deal with on a daily
just be
basis.
more descriptive in when asking, is it gentle? Is it spooky on the ground? Can I walk up to it and halter it? Is it head shy? When I go to throw saddle on it, will it stand still to be saddled? Is it snorty? Is it personable? Does the horse like to be petted? Or is it more just grab me, ride me? Be more descriptive in what you're looking for out of gentle.
Really?
But in that note,
Totally
you need to be honest in what you are looking for, and then I ask the seller, do you feel like this horse would fit what I'm looking for? And then on that note, make sure that if you're looking for a unicorn, you have the budget for a unicorn.
Yeah. You're not gonna go buy a 1D horse for your teenage daughter for $5,000.
No, and you're also not going to buy a bomb-proof trail horse, even at that, that anybody, any level can ride for.
Unless he's really ugly.
Unless he's really, I don't know, even ugly. Safe, there's no budget on safe. But
if you're buying a performance horse, pretty does make a difference, and pretty will always be worth more. But don't overlook the ugly horse that performs well.
right. But just like I said, have a realistic budget. You can't ask for bomb-proof, kid-proof, all those things for $1,200. There might be some people can find here and there on very rare occasions from people that don't know what they have. But again, that shouldn't be your budget based off what you are looking for. There's no problem, and there's nothing wrong into saving for a horse that fits your needs. Patience.
At least one for a while.
Yes, patience. All right, let me find my next question. All right, so my next question is, because there are so many scammers, because we are doing this sight unseen, since there's so many scammers nowadays, are you available so that I can FaceTime you, and while you're riding it, have someone hold the phone so I can watch you saddle the horse, mount it, and ride it?
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask that. Most people should be able to accommodate that for you.
Unless you are an Android user.
The But there's still some way to make that happen.
Correct.
And there's ways to determine whether it's a scam or not. It's not.
Ask for vet references.
Scams are not hard to spot. Do they have a legit Facebook? You know, if they have a Facebook account and have thousands of friends,
That's not always true. Scammers are now buying Facebook pages that have thousands of friends or buy thousands of friends.
I will say this then, that in the horse world, you are never more than a couple people disconnected from somebody else. And there's no way that you don't have mutual friends or your friends have mutual friends with
I would
anybody else.
ask for what a local vet that they use. Do not take that number from these people. Don't say what vet to use, what's their number. Ask what veterinarian clinic that they usually take their horses for whatever reason, right? Coggins, whatever. Google that vet, make sure it's in the right city and state that the person says that they're in, and call the number off Google and ask about the person, to be honest. If FaceTime, I think FaceTime and that should be. And if it sounds too good to be true,
Yeah.
it's too good to be true. We do ask for deposits to hold horses, so
Everybody does. You have to ask for a deposit. You can't hold the money, or hold a horse without any money, because there's too many other people, and too many people are flaky and back out. The old saying is that cash talks and bullshit walks. And if you don't put cash in the game, you're probably not going to get the horse. So that's just the reality of business and the reality of life. So don't be, if they ask for deposit, don't be like, oh my gosh, they're scamming me. Do your homework, make sure they're a real person. If they're, you know, if they act like they do it on a regular basis, they should have a legit business page on Facebook. They should be able to have, you can check them out. And like I said, the horse world is small enough that somebody's gonna know them. And you can find out. People aren't hard to check and do all that in today's world.
okay.
Oh, also, you're gonna have to edit. Do a little edit.
Nope, I'm gonna leave that blank ass
Oh.
stare in there.
So we're gonna we'll print this list out, or I say print out, but type it up. We'll put it in as probably as a slide in the video, or and we'll have it posted. You can get it. You can print it off. You can keep it, save it, whatever. And you can go through it and you can ask that you have these questions ready and available to you to ask. So that also when you call somebody, have your questions wrote down so that you don't miss one. You can be efficient with your, in your communication with the seller.
Yeah, we just learned that we have to also write notes, because if not, we just ramble on in these videos.
Yeah, it turns out I like to talk more than I thought it is.
Yeah, Caleb just likes to go down the family tree on every sentence or every question.
Well, there's so much information that you can put out there.
20
for
more
all this
videos
stuff.
we can make, babe.
So that cat's gonna drown. We gotta go.
It's gonna drown. Kitty,
That cat's very much gonna drown.
get out of there. Dip its water bucket in there so it can get some water. So that's going to conclude the questions that we feel like you should ask when buying a horse sight unseen. And,
Or even buying them not sight unseen.
or yeah, exactly. These are just questions in general. But of course, we're going to put it, buying a horse from a horse trader series.
Some of the pictures and videos you probably don't need so much, aren't gonna be as important if you are going to look at the horse, because you're gonna see him and make an
Yeah, if
evaluation
you
of
can
your
go
own,
and
but-
actually look at the horse, ride the horse, see the horse in person. But these are all still, especially if you're driving a couple hours away, ask these questions.
Even if the horse is on an auction, right? Like not an online, well, even an online auction, but in an in-person auction, if he's at a sale.
You can track down the sellers.
Most sellers, most places you can get the seller's number. You can call and ask the question, send them a message, and you can ask all these questions ahead of time. Just because that horse is at an auction doesn't mean that horse is bad.
Yep.
Not to be rude, but a lot of people will sell their horse at the auction so they don't have to deal with
People.
people. It's clean. There's no mess. You sell it. You go on about your life, and you get your money that day. That doesn't mean the horse is bad.
It
It's just the way
it cuts
that
out a lot of window shoppers.
It does. It does cut down.
And
on-
time is money.
Yes. So, and you know that you get a check on that day. So, some people want to do it that way. They want to sell their horse that way. It doesn't mean the horse is bad. We sell horses at auction. We sell horses on online auctions. We sell horses here privately.
But still, track down that seller at the auction. You can do that. You can ask who owns this horse and ask those questions.
Yep, you can ask them ahead of time, you can ask them the day of the sale. Do your homework. Make sure, we want you to have a good buying experience, whether you buy from us or buy from somebody else. We want you to have a good buying experience, have a good horse experience, and enjoy these animals that personally we think are super cool, so.
Right, so that is the part 2 of how to buy a horse from a horse trader, sight unseen, and stay tuned. We have more ideas coming.
Yep, and if you wanna see the video on PPEs,
And if there's
You
other
can't find
questions
it,
that
just-
we missed,
message us.
or don't message, just comment them. Yeah, comment them. So if there's questions that we just went over that you feel is very necessary in purchasing a horse sight unseen, write them down below. That way
Or
we
if
can
there's
include
anything
those
you
too.
want us- Sorry. If there's anything we want us to cover on buying a horse,
Yes.
comment or message us about that too.
Someone already commented that they wanted us to do videos on something on reining and futurity. I gotta
They
look.
want us to talk about futurity horses. We're gonna have to call in,
We're gonna have to call in the big boys.
yeah, we're,
We're just horse traders.
yeah, we aren't, we don't do a lot of futurity horses, so we're gonna call in. I don't know if he's an expert, but at least he's in the reining world, so
All right.
we can talk about that.
All right, that concludes this video. Bye.